Welcome to the Sports Investor Podcast, where it's all about smart sports betting. Here is your host, Professor MJ.
Hello my friends, this is Professor MJ from Quebec City in Canada. I'm a statistics university professor and I'm glad to welcome you for episode number 11 of the Sports Investor Podcast. Today we'll be going over my picks for week number 6 in the NFL. We went 4-2-1 last week, which raises our record over the past 3 weeks to an astonishing 14-4-1, which is a success rate a bit above 75%. We cannot expect to keep winning at such a high rate for the remainder of the year, but let's do our best to stay on the right track. I'm still upset at the Browns for literally giving the game away to the Jets by turning the ball over 2 times in the red zone and missing 2 field goals, all in the first half. They should have won this game, and we would have won an additional pick, but that's how things go sometimes. I see much fewer good plays on week number 6 in the NFL, but let me reveal to you my picks for the upcoming games. Pick number 1, Broncos minus 11.5 points against the Giants. I usually despise heavy favorites, but my projected lines are telling me to bet the Broncos in this game, according to my statistical models and adjustments I make based on a variety of factors. I even find myself getting pretty excited about this pick for many reasons. First of all, the Broncos are very well rested. Not only are they coming off their bye week, but they have not traveled much thus far in the season, after having played only 1 road game. In other words, heading into week number 6, the Broncos have only had to travel to Buffalo and that was it. Denver's injury list is pretty short, while the Giants looks like a phone book. Their wide receiver corps has been decimated by injuries, especially last week where they lost for the remainder of the season Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall, and Dwayne Harris. They are left with Sterling Shepard, who left the game against the Chargers in the first half and never returned. It will probably be a game-time decision this week. Their next best receiver is Roger Lewis, who has 15 career catches. Running back Orleans Darkwa looked pretty good before hurting his calf. He is questionable to play this week. New York's offense might struggle big time in a hostile environment against the number 1 rated defense in terms of yards allowed per game. One more reason to like Denver in this game is the fact that the Giants will be traveling 2 time zones and playing in Colorado's thin air, which is always a tough adjustment for visiting teams. This match is also one of New York's 2 non-conference road games, which is not super motivating for them because of the reduced playoff implications. At 0-5 and following a game where they were depleted by injuries, the Giants are probably feeling depressed. New York will be playing a 3rd road game over their past 4 contests. I'm crossing my fingers the Broncos won't be looking ahead to matchups against the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Patriots. Considering they've been preparing for the Giants for 2 weeks, I'm betting they will be sharp. Notice the Giants have not won in Denver since 1989. I recommend betting this game early in the week because I expect the line to get even bigger. I would not be surprised if it goes up to 12.5 or 13 before kickoff. Pick number 2. Saints minus 4.5 points against the Lions. Here's one more play where I highly recommend placing your wager early in the week. Otherwise, I feel like the line is going to move against you. Matthew Stafford suffered 2 injuries on the same leg last week, ankle and hamstring. I expect him to be on the field in New Orleans, but he may not be as effective. Meanwhile, Haloti Ngata has been having a good season as a pass rusher this year, but he exited last week's game with an elbow injury. He was already battling a shoulder injury, and he will be out for several weeks. After losing their first 2 games to Minnesota and New England, the Saints have rebounded nicely with wins over Carolina and Miami. Notice how the Saints were able to blow out the Panthers 34-13, which turns out to be Carolina's only loss in 2017. New Orleans benefits from 7 additional days of rest, thanks to a bye last week. They will also be looking for revenge, following a 28-13 loss at home against those same Detroit Lions last year. Now, here are a couple of unofficial picks, which won't count towards my overall record. I'm leaning towards the Atlanta Falcons minus 11 points against the Miami Dolphins. What? Another heavy favorite? That's right. I like how the Falcons had 2 full weeks to prepare for this game after suffering a surprising home loss to the Buffalo Bills. Great teams tend to respond well following a rare loss, especially when obtaining more days to prepare than their opponents. I'm a bit worried they could be looking ahead to a Super Bowl rematch against the Patriots on week number 7 though. Also, Mohamed Sanu may not be in the lineup, while Julio Jones is hampered by a hip injury. All of those factors led me to make the decision not to make it an official pick. I will stay away from that game and leave it up to you to decide whether you want to invest money or not. I was also considering taking the Baltimore Ravens minus 6.5 points against the Chicago Bears. Chicago has an epically banged up defense, but they should get linebacker Danny Trevathan back from his suspension. The Ravens have some injuries on the offensive line, which is a cause of concern to me. However, I like the fact that the Bears played Monday night, which leaves them with 1 less day to prepare for this matchup. So that's it for this session of the Sports Investor Podcast. It amazes me to see how people from so many countries are listening to this show, and it drives me to keep doing it. If you are looking for a reliable and trustworthy sportsbook to open a new account with, don't forget to have a look at my detailed sportsbook reviews on my website at professormj.com. Choosing an appropriate bookie is an all-important decision. You don't want it to steal your money or to realize their odds are bad and almost unbeatable after you have made a deposit. Please take 5 minutes of your time to make a well-informed decision, and my reviews are there to help savvy sports investors like you. So, this is it for today. Thanks again for listening, and good luck on your plays. Take care.